What's happening? So we got the news today. The New York Jets are hosting tackle Riley Reiff for a visit. I think there's a clear indication as we continue to hear these Quan Alexander, Larry Ogunjobi, now Riley Reiff. We'll see if anything happens at safety, but you can clearly see where Joe Douglas and most likely the coaching staff agree the most support is still going to be needed to prepare for the upcoming season. Now with Riley Reiff, this is a person that I'm actually hoping that we grab as a backup. The market was pretty bare, but in terms of hopefully not having to necessarily rely on them, as well as the additional leadership that will bring to our team and being able to develop Max Mitchell, for example, should reap the benefits for us over the course of the 17 games we'll play this season, hopefully more. So now when we think about Riley Reiff, just some history for him. This was a player that was drafted in the first round in 2013 by the Lions. Things didn't necessarily progress and work out the way that they wanted it to, so they didn't give him an extension, and he's played the last 4 seasons with the Vikings. Now, something interesting to note, as opposed to a tackle like, let's say, DJ Humphries with the Cardinals, where they kind of betted on some of the huge upsides they've seen with his seasons, like his sophomore one, for example. Riley Reiff has been, a fairly consistent player in terms of here's the minimum peak that he's going to reach. And that's backed up by statistics. So PFF, for example, they've never had him graded below a 67, which essentially means he's never been rated worse than the 50th tackle in the NFL, which in our simple context means he's essentially an average, at worst case scenario, backup tackle or swing tackle, depending on which term you like to use. And that's something we can definitely utilize. If you think about Morgan Moses, we got him on a discount in a time where the salary cap was constrained by COVID, amongst a bunch of other issues that we had. So there's theoretically no way we would have gotten Morgan Moses if those series of events didn't happen. We're also talking about seeing the salary cap increase, a bunch of extensions that have been getting done lately. So even though we'll probably get somebody at a value, this might be our best bet. Keep in mind, I'm super high on Makai and I love George Fant. Very high on both of these players, but even I will admit that the situation is still shaky. If the injuries that they're recovering from, George Fant's knee scope, Mekhi Becton's dislocated knee that he's been recovering from, if those don't pan out, we're back to looking at the same situation we did last year, regardless if it's both of them or one or the other. For reference, in OTAs right now, our starting tackles are Greg Sinnett and Connor McDermott. Okay? Connor McDermott, I believe he's played less than like 200 snaps at any point the last few seasons, and Greg Sinnett has not even been a rosterable player for us. But that's what we're looking at in OTAs. Now, Riley Reiff has never actually graded statistically wise per PFF lower than a 67. What does this mean for us? He's basically never ranked lower than the 50th tackle in the NFL, regardless of, right or left, which is huge news for us. That means at his lowest point, that's where we're starting at, an average at minimum swing or backup tackle. I'll sign up for that every day of the week. The issue is going to be the contract situation and what does that mean? But he brings things to the table, even if he doesn't necessarily have to play, which is going to be the hope in terms of bringing 139 started games to the table. He might be able to help also do that mentorship to Max Mitchell, who we're hoping will be that tackle that we can rely on in his sophomore season, so that we don't have to go out there and find another person necessarily in free agency. But yeah, other than that, I mean, what does a contract essentially look at for him? I kind of had to throw the Morgan Moses thing out of the window because of COVID and what led up to him getting a contract. But there were 2 players that kind of stood out that were within the same general range statistically for him. One, that's Cameron Irving of the Panthers. He was rated the 74th tackle, so I'm kind of thinking this is the floor. He got a 2-year, $10 million deal recently, $8 million guaranteed. And then the Saints, James Hurst, he was the 43rd ranked tackle. He just recently got a 3-year, $9 million deal, $4.5 million guaranteed. So we're going to end up ultimately spending a little bit more unless somehow we get a discount. Moses got $3.1 million guaranteed. when we took him for that 1 year flyer. So I'm assuming it might be an extra year or two, which is why James Hurst's contract sticks out as probably the more realistic version. Of course, he got 3 years. We're probably thinking another 2 year with, avoided team option deals. So somewhere in that 4.5 million ranges, I'm thinking what ultimately we'll look at to secure a veteran swing tackle. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I think this will be an excellent addition to our offensive line as somebody, again, ultimately we hope we don't really have to rely on other than spot, refreshment snaps. But let me know if you guys think there's a better option or if this is somebody we shouldn't let leave the building without signing a contract. Peace.